Hello and what is up everyone, it is Hachi from the Art of Dota, and in this video I'm going to be telling you guys some common mistakes that players make when calibrating. The new MMR system was just released a couple of days ago, and now with this new system implemented, every 6 months we're going to have to play some more calibration games. Before a new player would start up the game and they'll play unranked for a while until they can play ranked, and then from there they just calibrate once and that was it. Once you had your account calibrated, you had MMR and it stayed that way. You went up and down, but you never had to recalibrate. With this new system, Valve is, taking note of these other games like Overwatch, League of Legends. So they're implementing the season system where every 6 months you're going to have to recalibrate. So this video is for people who might have not calibrated yet under the new system, or maybe in the future as well. When it does come time 6 months from now to recalibrate, this should help you out. These are 5 things that you need to keep in mind, very common mistakes that players make when calibrating for their ranked. And again, this is not going to make you, play better or anything like that, but it's going to allow you to maximize your ranking and make sure you get your true potential when getting your rank, so you don't calibrate too low. So the first mistake is not planning your picks before queuing, and this is a major one. I know with the new system coming out, people are quick to try to just click that play Dota button and get their ranking out there as fast as possible. But if you don't have a plan going into it with what heroes you want to play, same thing with just playing regular MMR. If you don't have a plan beforehand, and let's say someone takes your role that you really want to play, you need a backup plan. So before even thinking of pressing the play Dota button and beginning your calibration, have an idea of what you want to play, what's in meta right now, and what you can play, so that you have a backup plan or two, depending on if someone steals your position as the core, mid, off lane, or whatever. And for me, I played support, so it was relatively easy for me to get my position, as most people tend towards cores. But if you're a core player, someone else refuses to give you the position. And of course, if you're calibrating as well, a lot of people have calibrated already. They're not going to give you the position to someone who they don't know their MMR yet, or they don't know their rank yet. So a lot of times, you have to respect your higher ranked player, potentially, than you. Again, because you don't know where you are, where, let's say, they're divine 5 rank 200 or something, you're nowhere near that. You're gonna have to give them core position. So before calibrating, make sure you can write it down somewhere. It could just be mental, but have an idea of what you want to play and make sure it's your best heroes, right? And if you don't have a plan, or you don't have heroes that can be fitting it for the meta right now, maybe just play unranked for a little bit, practice some new heroes, and then go calibrate. Because again, you calibrate once and that's it. From there, you might be stuck in the trench. I mean, I know the trench isn't a real thing, but you might get stuck down really low, and it's gonna suck if you don't have a lot of time to play Dota, right? Ideally, you want to get a good medal. Let's say you don't have that much time to play Dota, you only play on the weekends or whatever, or once or twice a day. You don't want to calibrate too low and get stuck at a bad medal and then have to climb all your way back up. So make sure you have a plan coming into it. This is the first common mistake, and it's a major one. So moving on to the next one is tilting because of feeders. This is also really big. During your calibration games, I know there's going to be at least 1 or 2 games where someone intentionally feeds or does something really dumb, like Jungle Legion Commander, or I was watching D2 Bowie stream yesterday, and he had an Enigma who hasn't played Dota in months or something, and he went 2 Mantle of Intelligences, rushed a Blink Dagger from the jungle. That might just happen to you, or not even might, it will happen to you in one of your games, and you need to not let it affect you playing on your next one. Because again, you're going to play 10 calibration games, and you need to do your best in all of them. And if you're playing tilted because of something that happened in your last game, it's going to affect your state and you're going to play worse. So make sure that if something really bad happens in your game, like you had a jungle feed or jungle, or maybe it could be a jungle and a feed, but you know, you have feeding junglers. Sometimes they don't just jungle and then come out of the jungle at like 10 minutes with like a Midas or something like that. Sometimes they feed in the jungle. But if that happens to you, maybe take a break or just try to recenter yourself before playing your next game. Because if you enter your next game tilted, it's going to affect your overall rating at the end. Because again, the new calibration system is all based on your performance, right? Your teammate there feeding is not going to affect you that much in the long run after playing your 10 games. It might screw you for that one game, but over 10 games, as long as you're staying consistent in your gameplay, you're going to get the rank that you deserve. Now the problem is when someone feeds and it affects your gameplay and then you play it worse because of it, then you're going to end up getting a lower rating than you should because you're playing tilted. So make sure that if something really bad happens in your game, just make sure to brush it off or, you know, take a little bit of a break. And again, I do advise maybe just not even queuing because you might even get the same players again in your game. And that's going to move on to the next point here, which is playing at a bad time. This is a mistake that a lot of people make. Again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, where you want to wait a little bit before queuing because you might just get a bad pool of players. And this is the same when you're queuing at really late hours, let's say like 4 a.m. on US East or something like that. Actually, that's not that bad because some US West people are still playing. But if you're just playing at really weird hours, there's a very high chance that you're just going to get some random Peruvians or people who don't speak English, like Russians, queuing into the US server at that time for some reason with like 200 ping and they just can't play. So make sure you play at peak hours, which is usually sometime in the afternoon. Like any time after noon is pretty good. On a weekend, it could be a little bit earlier because people don't have work or school or anything like that. But just make sure that you're not queuing at such a weird hour that you know that you're gonna get weird games. Because at some point, let me tell you, games get weird. No matter MMR, you know, 5K, 6K, Divine Rapier, Ancient, Herald, at a certain hour, people will just get weird. And you don't want to play your calibrations during that time. So make sure you play at regular hours, and in addition, if you're tilted or anything like that, make sure you fix that before playing your calibration games as well. This not only applies to actual time, but it also could be something in your own life that, you know, you're tilted or you're under emotional distress and you're just not ready to play a calibration game, but you want to because you want to get your rank. Just don't do it. Don't do it if that's the case. You know, if you have to go somewhere soon or you need to rush your game out, don't play your calibration games. Go play unranked, go play overthrow, do something else, but just don't play your ranked because that's going to, again, affect your overall rating, and you don't want to get a bad rating because, I mean, of course, it will last for 6 months, but you don't want to be stuck 6 months at a bad rating. And, of course, the rating that you get now is going to be affecting your rating you get next season, because next season it's going to probably, I mean, not probably, most definitely base your initial calibration for that point from the current rating that you have from this season. So again, just don't play at a bad time, you know, whether it's something you're busy or you have to go somewhere, or it's just a weird hour and you get those clowny games. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. So moving on to the next mistake is picking heroes with low impact. And this is also a very big thing. You want to be able to do a lot of damage as well as contribute in the team fights, push, farm, or do something. Healing as well. But what you don't want to do is pick a hero like Dazzle that just has really low impact, especially if you're behind. You got to think of it like this. Think of any hero that even if you're behind, you're able to at least do something. So heroes that don't do that are like Io, Dazzle, these like supports. Even heroes like Lich can potentially fit into that category, but Lich is a little bit different because he can get some experience and do decent damage even with no items. But you just want to stay away from the heroes that you know that if you're gonna fall behind, you know, maybe Shadow Shaman may fit into that category, where Shadow Shaman many times just often ends up going like 0 and or 3 and 15 or something like that, right? He's a very high feeding hero. You want to avoid those type of heroes because calibration will take into account your stats to some extent. Not only does it account your wins or losses in terms of calibrating you, it also takes your stats, whether it's like damage done, GPM. We don't know what it actually takes into account or what the algorithm is, but we do know that it does somehow affect your rating depending on how well you do in the game. And this is probably going to increase or decrease your rating gained or loss for a win or a loss. So let's say it was a loss game, but you performed really well, you had really good GPM, good KDA, you're going to lose less rating than if you just also did very poorly in that game and then lost as well. In that case, you'll lose more rating. Basically, they probably implemented some system that determines whether or not like the loss was like mostly on you or it was more of like a team thing and you just got outplayed. So again, you want to be able to play heroes that have decent impact no matter the situation, whether you're playing from ahead or behind. You want to be able to contribute in a lot of fights. You don't want to AFK farm too much, because I do think it takes into account KDA over GPM, because that's a better indication of how useful you are to your team. You know, I mean, I guess you might be able to play AM, but you know, you don't want to be a 0 and 2 and 1 AM, you know, and then just lose, because that's going to affect your rating. You rather just actually play, you know, something like a Vengeful or PA, and then maybe if you'll lose anyway, but you'll get some kills at least. You want to avoid being that 0, 2, and 1 AM, or that 0 and 10 Shadow Shaman, or that, you know, Dazzle with absolutely no damage done because he's only healing and he doesn't provide anything else in a team fight. So make sure you pick well. I mean, I can recommend a lot of heroes. You know, Storm Spirit, I feel like is really good for calibration if you can play it. Heroes that can buy Midas, it does take into account your GPM somewhat. It doesn't take into account that much, but if you go Midas, you can keep up in GPM, as well as also get kills because you're able to play aggressively. It's weird. The thing is, I think of Midas as you want to keep up in farm, but also not farm that much. I think it can work out. That's just my recommendation. If you don't like Midas, don't buy it. And that also goes into our next point, and our last point here. The last mistake people make is they don't maximize their impact. This is really important. I was already talking about it a little bit before, but you need to maximize your impact. This goes in with your pick as well. You need to pick a hero that has a lot of impact. So again, the Storm Spirits, heroes that can go join a lot of team fights. You know, Face's Void isn't bad as a carry because he can Chronosphere. He's a very good team fighting carry. Life Stealer, anything like that. You want to get good KDA, or if you're a support, you want good fighting and a lot of supporting, that you to be able to buy the support items, find some farm on the map, and just basically have good stats. I mean, if you look at the stats on the screen, like supporting, fighting, pushing, and farming, you want to do well in all of those categories. You don't want to just be very low impact, and that's going to affect your rating. Whether you win or lose, if you have low impact, you're going to either lose more points or you're going to get less points for a win. And you don't get to see the points while calibrating, but I'm just talking about the internal MMR, because during the calibration games, you need to know that each win and loss is not negative 25 and plus 25 like it is in regular matchmaking. It's a lot more than that. I mean, the swings could be up to hundreds. So you need to be able to maximize your impact. So let's say for a win, if you have very high impact in that game, you can gain up to like 100 rating, I'm assuming, in that one game, or even more. But if you won the game and you were very low impact, your team carried you, and your stats didn't look good either, you're going to not get as much rating as you would. So that is pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys learned how to play your calibration games by fixing these mistakes that a lot of people make. I know this is something that applies to more than just Dota, but I made this video for Dota specifically because of the new ranking system that was just released. So again, if this video did help you out, make sure you leave a like down below, and also be sure to subscribe because I am uploading content very regularly now, pretty much every day or every other day at this point. I'll get on a fixed schedule at some point, but I'll see you all in the next video, and peace out, everyone.